That's right. So we'll call the meeting to order. At 6:01, we'll have the roll, please.
Mr. Edwards,
Here.
Mrs. Grant,
Here.
Mr. Plummer,
Here.
Mrs. Lee,
Here.
Mrs. Smith.
Here. All right, could I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted to us?
I'll
Moved by Dora, seconded by Israel. We'll have the roll, please.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Plummer,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. Thank you for that. And now I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as submitted by Kelsey to us. Moved by Israel. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dora. We'll have the roll, please.
Mr. Plummer,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee, yes, Mrs. Smith.
Yes. All right, very good. We'll move on to your report, Ed.
So I gave you this gray paper. We have a community meeting tonight, board meeting. That's gonna be recorded. It'll be put on Facebook. It'll be on our website. You're free to watch it if you'd like to. This is Mrs. Keegan, our treasurer's financial and facility update. These two PowerPoint slides that I copied for you. Also, Jean has the entire color PowerPoint if anybody would like to see it. I'll start out the meeting tonight and talk about our strategic plan and what things we have ahead of us this year. One highlight is there's 613 districts in the state. 25 districts received a literacy and learning grant of $200,000. Margaretta was one of those 25 districts. So that initiative will move forward with, and our young kids were so impacted through COVID by learning to read. And imagine learning to read and speak with your teacher having a mask on and not being able to see their mouth move. And Jean knows, she's a speech teacher. It was next to impossible. We have committed to the state initiative of science of reading, where they have data that says that we can get kids reading at level by graduation at 95%. Ohio has been in the 60s and the 70s over the last 40 years. So with that data, I think we're negligent as educators not to move forward with this science of reading. And that's what this literacy initiative is about. So we're very excited about that. Also, we just coordinated and aligned our ELA, our English Language Arts curriculum, and our math curriculum. We're very excited about that because of those are the two cornerstones of the four core areas of what we teach. So we're very excited about that. So that's kind of my speak on the direction. In that packet, if you grab it from Jean or look at it on our online tonight, a lot of highlights of what educational experiences we're giving our kids with career development, getting out, doing STEM and STEAM activities. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We like to add the A for arts. So we do STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So we have a big initiative to push in that direction. Dr. Tice was with me when I was in Findlay. She actually took her building in 2 years to a STEAM designation. And at that time in the state, there were only 6 buildings in the entire state of Ohio, school buildings that were STEAM designated. And she's actually on the advisory board for the state for STEAM education. So we're very excited about moving in that direction. Inside Diane's update, we were in great shape with the solar project and the solar panels supposedly going in, with the Nexus settlement going in place. And then all of a sudden there's delays in the solar. There's an appeal with the Nexus. So we've kind of been in the perfect storm here the last 18 months. We've survived. In some cases, when we've had people retire or leave us through attrition, we did not replace them. Many of the replacements this year, we're going with Bachelor Zero educators, which if you look on your salary index and you run in your district, top of the salary index is a 2.0. They're almost double the pay of what a new teacher starts out with. So we did cut our payroll with some young, energetic, exciting new educators. So we're kind of excited about that. So the Nexus appeal is at the Supreme Court. There are 13 counties in the state affected by Nexus. In Erie County, Edison, Perkins, and Margaretta are affected by the Nexus settlement. Lorain County's auditor appealed the settlement, even though the other 12 did not. Now it's to the Ohio Supreme Court, which is the last appeal. He has turned in his brief to the Supreme Court. No one wrote what's called an amicus brief to go along with his opinion. No one did that. Nexus's brief is due by the 4th of July, before the 4th of July. Margaret Schools is writing an amicus brief, which is going to be signed by Edison, Perkins, and 10 of the 13 counties affected by Nexus. Also very powerful towards the settlement going back in place. The Ohio Business Association, which is a huge association of all the businesses of the state of Ohio, are writing an amicus brief in favor of the settlement going in place. Now, the Supreme Court only hears very few cases. I'm very optimistic and hopeful that the settlement gets put back in place sometime here in July, and then by September, we can be going and building the building. The other thing that she's put some numbers in here, the cost of the building has gone up to the point where if we would get to where they're going to hear the case and it's going to be another 2 years, this district probably won't be able to build the building without some type of help from the community, some type of help. But we're still in great position. We could address aged, ancient facilities with just minor help from the community. If the settlement gets put in place now, we think we have a chance to be good. So what we want is the Supreme Court to put the settlement back in place, and we want to be able to go. But the delays have really killed us. It really killed us. So, and as a district, when you're running a district, you have to pass levy. The last time we passed a levy was 2010 for additional money. Right now, we're in almost 23, 24 school year. It's been 13 years. So we've been very frugal in managing the district, but we need the solar project to go in place. We need the Nexus settlement to go in place. And then we're in a whole different, what I call a perfect storm right now. So that's where we're at as a district. Our board thought it was imperative that we lay it out to the community and let them know where we're at. So that's where we're at.
And in terms of our sponsorship, then everything
We're fine.
is going well,
Yes.
and
Yes,
we have the final upload at the end of this next week.
I'm not sure if Steve has, I don't think he has anything else that needs uploaded.
I think he's already in.
Okay, he's done
I think he's
that.
in.
Okay.
And just so a board knows, Mr. Keller's going back into the classroom. Because of my experience at Finley and here, and even here before I left, I'm gonna take over working with you guys directly, along with Mrs. Keegan and Kelsey and Mr. Bone and myself and Diane. We get along great, so we don't think there's gonna be any problem. And the uploads and all that stuff, we need to stay at the top of the ratings so that we can rate and not have to jump through all the hoops. All that does is take up time so we can't do our real jobs.
Right.
But we're optimistic that the settlement's gonna go back in place, and we're due some good luck is what I'm gonna.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, thank you.
Ron told me I had to wear a black covered shirt. I still don't mind him wearing that. That's true. He said, don't come if you don't.
Very good. Is there any public participation that I need to be aware of? Here. John, I know we have a spot for you, so. Under board member and liaison reports, I would just like to pass around a thank you that we received from Robin Dar. We had given her a gift from the board to thank her, and we hope she's enjoying her retirement.
Tomorrow's her last day in the.
Tomorrow is her last day? Okay, very good. So after tomorrow, she'll enjoy her retirement. I just wanted to bring everyone's attention to the information that we've been getting from the Ohio School Board Association in terms of the biennium budget that's being passed and has been passed by one faction of the government. And there's been high support for vouchers for families. That's been one of the issues that has really been worked out in terms of the legislature. So we look for that to be approved very shortly. I also want to thank you for all the work you did on the Sunshine Law class. I know that's not a fun thing, but we appreciate the fact, and it's an important thing for us to be sure that we know what's going on. So I think we have maybe one more person that needs to finish, or did you finish? Were you able to finish, Norm?
Me? I'm
Yeah,
done.
you're done.
Okay,
Perfect.
great.
Perfect, and
Yeah.
you're done. Yay! So we're good. Everybody got it. Thank you, David, for setting that up for us as well. Is there any other report from any board member?
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll go on to the treasurer's report.
I first want to give you guys an update on our ESEA MOE update. So this is different than our IDA MOE. This is not our special ed one. If you'll recall, back in September, we were informed that for our overall general fund spending, we had failed our MOE, but we were eligible for a waiver. So we applied for the waiver. We were supposed to hear back by December. They have not still to this day given us an answer. I've checked in on it regularly, and the last that they told me on June 9th was that they would plan to have them all completed by the end of the fiscal year. So as long as our waiver goes through fine to pass this year's then, because that was last year's, we only need to spend 90% of what we spent last year, not the huge amount that we didn't meet from the year before, which is $2,685,554. We've spent a little over 2.7, so as long as the waiver goes through fine, we're in the clear for this year. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, next I've got an update on our consolidated grants. This should be the first page of one of the packets I gave you. So we got our FY24 allocations, and we've talked a lot about not being quite sure where they're going to fall because last year we had claimed 100% FTE, and obviously this year we could not. I was overall pleased with most of the allocations. Our Title 1A was the one I was the most concerned about, and I don't feel like the drop off was huge. It was better than what I anticipated, so I was happy about that. The one I am concerned about is the non-competitive. There was discussion about this turning into a competitive grant, so I'm hopeful that that's what happens, that they release it as a competitive grant and we get to apply for it. We do pay Ossie and Redding's salary and benefits out of this right now. He can move to ESSER. We pay Lyric, the other attendance officer, out of ESSER, so he can move to ESSER, but again, we know ESSER is only temporary, so that's not a permanent solution. Our IDA funds and our Title 2A funds actually increased a bit. We currently have 2 SPED teachers that we pay out of IDA, Brandy King and Sherry Ransom, and Title 2A we use to cover a lot of our professional development and tuition reimbursement. Does anybody have any questions over that? Okay.
Thank you for doing this, though, for keeping us updated, because it's so easy to lose track of it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I can't read my writing, I start writing. This is great.
No problem. Next, we can look at the cash reconciliation. So you can see we ended the month with $7,361,697.59. And then we can go ahead and move along to our disbursement summary. So there's just a couple that I wanted to make note of that I thought might stand out a little bit. A little over halfway down the page, you'll see an expense for $1,548 to Sporting Enterprises. So that's not a typical expense. That was for the polos that we ordered. We ordered a lot of polos, and some of them went to the students that went to the career fair.
Yeah, in Kalahari, we took a group.
So we
Kalahari May.
used ARP homeless funds because we're using the rest of the polos to stock our ready room. And one of the stipulations with the homeless funds is that it can apply for all students. That way there's no stigma for the students that need it. So you can let all students use it. So we did pay for those with grant money. On not the second page of your disbursement summary, but the third. And it kind of cut off between the third and the fourth page, but the very last one was to Sandusky County Public Health. Again, that's a new expense. That's for getting our Fremont location started with our food program. So it was the license and the application for our Fremont location. Does anybody have any questions over the disbursements? I did want to talk about 2 of the outstanding disbursements as well. So we are pretty well caught up on our outstanding disbursements. The 2 at the top. The first one I am having a little difficulty with. We had a parent write a check for $25 for a charger, and we tried for a really long time to send it back and get her to send another one. But since we had given the charger out, we ended up depositing the check and issuing a $5 refund because chargers are only $20. And she has not cashed it as of yet. I've tried a couple of times to email and call. I will continue to reach out. I'm hopeful that we can get that taken care of so it doesn't mean or stay outstanding. And then the one below it, they had an address change that we were unaware of. So this has actually been voided and resent. So that one's taken care of. And then you can see following that, we're only into the month of May. So
Very good.
next we can move on to our spreadsheet. In the top left, you'll note that our revenue is over 100% of what we had predicted it at. And below that, our expenses are falling below where we had predicted them, so that's positive for the year. We ended the month with a positive of 218,433. Our supplies continue to be our lowest expense estimation, but we had predicted that with the emergency connectivity funds, as well as the E-rate. We had budgeted those into our supplies because we weren't sure how they needed to be coded exactly. And once that was confirmed, they went into a grant and out of your general fund. So the supplies were overestimated and we had lowered them a bit, but regardless, we're coming in a little lower on the supplies budget, which is good to see. I also wanted to note, you'll see our total FTE was 401.03. That's slightly higher again, but we should predict a decrease for June due to graduations. If there's no questions over the spreadsheet, we'll go ahead on to the foundation payment. Our foundation payment prior to retirements was $383,346.16. The comparison I want to point out to you is actually the next 2 pages. I've got our total summaries, what we had in May and what we had in June, and you'll see there was a slight decrease for June in our total. We went from 5,031,000 in May to 5,018,000. So not a huge jump, but we did a slight decrease as we had said before. But also on my report, I have a recommendation to establish temporary appropriations for fiscal year 24 at 25% of the fiscal year expenditures for July 1st, 2023 through September 20th, 2023.
Do you want to handle them together? D and E as we approve?
Yeah, I wanted to give a brief explanation because I know we do this yearly, but when we only cover it once a year, it's easy to not quite remember. So these are just our budgeting appropriations. This is the money we're setting aside for our budget, but since we don't approve our budget until September, we do a brief approval of just 25% for that first quarter, July, August, and September, until we approve our full budget, our full appropriations. And then finally, we've got E, a recommendation to approve the order to bind coverage form with Schools of Ohio Risk Sharing Authority and the payment of the associated invoice for $14,147 as presented. This is our liability and crime coverage. We approve this every year. We had a very small increase in price. I believe he said about 1%. So not bad. We're paying around the same amount we paid last year.
Are there any questions for Kelsey? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve items A through E of the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Moved by Kent, is there a second? Second by Dora. Have the roll, please.
Mr. Edwards.
Yes.
Mrs. Grant.
Yes.
Mr. Paloma.
Yes.
Mrs. Salee.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. Very good, thank you, Kelsey. We'll move on to your report, Brian,
Okay,
and
thank you.
your recommendations.
Okay, we'll start off here with a breakdown of our current enrollment here as of today, which can be found in the blue folder. So just to point out, as of today, we've had, and I believe it should be 94. I've got 93 down, but I believe it's 94 graduates currently as of today. So if you want to pencil that as a 94. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chair, but we've got several others that are pretty close as well.
One today finished his last course. It still needs to get graded, but yeah, so we've got a lot of students that are actually working this summer to try to finish things up on
Right.
time or early. I mean, we have a few that are even not supposed to graduate until next year that are working this summer to try to finish up early.
Wonderful. So far you've seen students take advantage of summer school?
Definitely, and surprisingly, some that we did not anticipate would work through the summer, so we did not extend their licenses. That have contacted me and said, hey, I wanna keep working on my stuff, can I get back in? And so we've reactivated their accounts for them, so they-
So hopefully here next month, I can report that we're over the 100 mark.
Yeah,
We're getting close.
well, 94 is pretty darn good.
So factoring in that we have 94 graduates, our enrollment is still pretty solid as we head into the summer here at 487
Yeah.
as we finish the school year off. And you can see the breakdown there. Any questions on the enrollment? Okay, John, would you like to talk about an update here with our construction project?
Yes, one of the things that happens is, Ryan's given a 4-week look ahead schedule of what is happening, what's going to happen, and it's supposed to be updated every week, just so he knows what's going to happen, where they're going to be, because we've got rooms over there that we need to work into. But there's no reason to kick all the staff out if they're not working them, I guess, so we're just trying to keep Ryan abreast as to where people need to be. So we're gonna get to the point where we're gonna need the front of the building, but that's, I think it's a couple of weeks out yet. So the progress is going, they started on Monday, they're cruising right along. The first floor's got most of the demolition done, and they're back to start to put things back in. The only issue we have that we were aware of is we knew that we had doors, frames, and hardware was a long lead item. And we had confirmation that based on when they got the shop drawings back approved, they gave us a date, and we're still on that date. So we're not behind schedule, but we were hoping that maybe they would push that along for us, but they said, no, it's. We told you, I can't remember, 6 weeks from approval, and
That's when it's
got
gonna
the
be.
email from the today says. No, we're not ahead of schedule, we're on schedule, and we're still scheduled to give you, on time, so. It's an issue, because we want to be ahead, but we're still right on schedule, just when things are back.
Were there any surprises in the demo week?
We had one, actually 2 this week. I was at the school when they called it an issue, I pop out. One was one of the walls we took down between the 2 offices was the old rear wall of the existing school.
Oh,
And when we took it down, what I couldn't tell was, did all that wall framing go straight through up to the roof? Did it stop at the floor? Did the floor continue through? It did not appear as if it did. So we came in with a couple of, what I call structural studs, and put a beam in to hold the wall just in case.
Yeah.
It was structural. And, that work was done, and the other issue that popped up late in the day yesterday was we've got all the rooms in there side by side, the ceiling heights are all the same, which means when we took them down, we put them back in the exact same spot. The building is fully sprinkled, so that's good news. 2 of the rooms, a pair on one side and a pair on the other, were a room and a closet. Closets had lower ceilings. So when we took the ceilings down, took the wall out, we've got sprinkler heads that are in 2 different spots. Reviewed this with Brian and decided that what we would do, so we don't bring a sprinkler contractor in, which we didn't have under contract. We're gonna step the ceiling and put a little bulkhead in. The ceilings that go from 8'6" to 9 foot, so we're gonna have high ceilings anyway. And these were offices, not future classrooms, so.
So these would be the offices where Ken Miller was located with the closet next to it. That's
Yeah.
becoming one room.
Yeah.
And then the other side, which is Lyric and Ossian.
okay. Okay. Well, good.
Yes, so other than that, the only thing we reviewed today, which is Ryan reviewed with Adina, was exact locations where we want data outlets in the rooms, so that as these classrooms are set up, they're in the right spot. It's odd, but we made 2 rooms into one. You'd have thought that everything would have matched all the way around, but they kind of flip-flop. So we've got new doors going in, we want a data out right there. When the wall was taken down, the data was on the other side, so we're gonna have to move, in half the rooms, we're gonna have to move data outlet to the opposite side, so that the data outlet is by where the teachers can be put at desk.
Okay. Well, they'll be grateful for that.
It'll make it easier.
Yeah.
It'll be towards on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions for John? It's great to hear and better to see. Maybe we can take a peek.
John's been extremely helpful guiding us through this process, and we're very grateful. Thank you.
Good.
That's
Thank
what we're
you.
here for.
Thank you.
Not to hold you up, John, because in case you need to leave, I want to talk real quick about item G that we're going to be voting on here in a little bit. That'll let John leave if he needs to leave then.
Sure.
So item G later on is a recommendation to accept a proposal from, and I put a blank line there. Because at the time that I printed these off, we weren't sure, because this afternoon, we went through the proposals that were submitted. So we received, this is for the shower project, which is an addition on the construction project. We received 2 proposals, one from a company called Dymex Services, and then a second one from Medina. And when we opened these up, which was John, Kelsey, and myself, the proposal from Dymex Services was $21,880. And that's for the entire project. And then the second proposal from Medina was $39,015. So there's a substantial difference there. So John went ahead and reached out to Dymex Services to ensure that they were quoting the whole project and not just a piece of the project, like for say the plumbing of the project. And he was assured that that was the entire project. So here's the deal with that. We've got roughly $33,000 in the budget that Kelsey has using homeless funds, right, Kelsey?
Yes, but that also includes, like, we bought the $1,580 worth of polos, and we intend to buy some other clothes and things to stock the room.
So anything above that would be general fund expenses if we would go beyond that. So looking at the 2 proposals here, $39,000 and $21,880, it just makes sense to go with Dymex, even though Adina's already in our building doing construction. So the proposal, excuse me, the recommendation is going to be for that blank line, a proposal from Dymex Services. And John said that that should not be a problem having 2 different companies in there at the same time.
That's correct. And Dymex Services Company out of Toledo, for the Snuffy City Schools, our last building, they were the mechanical contractor on that project. They did a very good job. No issues.
Good.
So how was Adina so much higher? You would think they'd be lower because they're already in there to do it.
I don't have all the particulars, but I know that Dymex is gonna do a lot of the work themselves. Where Adina's gonna hire you to do this piece, you to do this piece, you to do this piece, and they're gonna oversee a lot of it. So they're not gonna perform much of the work. They've got it parceled out to everybody. So everybody is gonna do their work, and Adina gets a little extra on top of it. Now, does that equate to $8,000 difference? Or not even,
17.
but 17, no. But when I talked to the guy from Dymex, I said, hey, there's a significant difference between the 2. If you don't have everything or you're uncomfortable with your number, right now is what I need to know, because we're gonna give you the job. And you can't come back and say, oh, by the way, I didn't have this. Being required to get the job done. We went through all the work items. He said, I've got all, we got it covered. We're comfortable with our number. So,
Dymex is spelled D-I-M-E-C-H. Dymex Services.
Well, thanks for being so thorough. To check things out. It's appreciated.
well, we were happy to get the number.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So John, thank you for coming tonight,
Yeah.
sharing those
Yeah,
updates.
thank
And
you.
If you'd like to take off, you're more than welcome.
Well, I'm on vacation tomorrow for a little over a week, so my wife says I gotta pack here.
All right, where are you going?
Cape Cod.
Oh, wonderful. Well, have a good time.
Yeah,
enjoy.
fine.
Hope so.
Yeah,
You let me know if they decide to go your route, because then I have to let Diamond know. I have to do that on my vacation, so. Take my laptop with me, work always follows.
Very good.
All right?
Thank
All
you,
right,
John.
thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a nice vacation.
Thank you.
I have one last update that's not listed here under the informational items. I want to give a community liaison update. If you remember, Karen Zirkle is our new community liaison. She's working in that position over the summer. And these brochures here that I've shared with you, this is a brand new brochure that Karen put together. She ran it by several of us before we took it to print with Laura's printing. But it's a fantastic visual that she's going to use in meeting with other community partners throughout the counties that we are established in. And continuing to grow those relationships within those counties. And just a wonderful job of putting this together. So when you get a chance to look at that later on, please do. Also in your blue folder, Karen shared with me her schedule that she has for meeting with different community partners so far. So you can take a look at that sometime, and she's got a breakdown of what dates she's going to meet with different groups within those counties. As you can see, she's extremely organized. She has the dates, the times all prepared, and I'm sure she's going to continue to add other meetings as time goes on throughout the summer. Okay, any questions on the informational items? Okay, moving on to new business. We have a resolution here. Item A, to approve the awarding of high school diplomas to the following students upon successful completion of the graduation requirements as set forth by the state of Ohio. We have quite a few there this month. I'm not going to read those off individually. Item B is a resolution to approve policy 294, student records and release information. And this actually goes along with item C as well, and I'll explain here in a second. Item C is a resolution to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Erie County Sheriff's Office to define the responsibilities of the resource officer position as presented. So Justin Sanchez went to training, I believe it was maybe in April, for SROs, which was very beneficial for him. And one thing that he came back with is he said that the other schools have this memorandum of understanding to kind of more define the roles of the SRO within the school. So we took what he had, we shared it with our lawyers in Dickinson Wright, and we went back and forth and came up with this document here, which we're going to be approving here in item C. Breakdown of the job description, basically, or the expectations of the SRO. But along with that, Stephanie Tiefert from Dickinson Wright said that we need to revise policy 294 to include the SRO in that. So that's why we're approving that policy in item B. Okay, item D then is an agreement to enter a contract with John Fike for architectural services as presented. In the months past, we had approved the proposal from John, but we had not officially approved the actual contract. So we're going back and making sure that we do that. And then item E, same thing with Adina, as an agreement to enter a contract with Adina for construction services as presented. We had approved their proposal, but we want to make sure that we officially approve the contract with them as well. And those items were shared in the email that led up to our board meeting. I didn't print them off because they're about 40 pages each. Item F then is a recommendation to purchase furniture from Verco for a total of $18,434.34. That quote is in your blue folder here. So this is going to be some furniture for our cafeteria space. We have 4 different round oval shaped tables that can seat about 8 students at each table. And then we also have some alternate seating options for the classrooms as well, where each classroom will have a couple of the seat chairs, the rocker seat chairs, as well as the normal height rockers as well. So if we approve this tonight, that order will be put in here within the next few days or so. And then it's roughly, I think, a 6 to 8 week turnaround for that furniture.
So how would you describe the change in furniture? From what we had to what we're going to?
So the week after school was out, we had a furniture sale. And I believe it brought in a little bit over $500 of some of the old some of it was broken.
My husband
Or
lost
furniture.
his computer chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
For $2.
So we had some old furniture that was worn, it had seen its days, they had reached its value of $0, end of life, basically value. So we sold that furniture. We didn't want to sell everything, just furniture that was well worn. And so we're replacing that with some of these alternate options.
A lot of our students like to sit on the floor, lay on the floor. They just want to be comfortable, and studies have shown that, like, you know, if you can let them be comfortable, you know, they'll learn better. So that's, the teachers had actually requested some of these chairs that actually like sit, there's no legs on them at all. They sit right on the floor and they kind of rock back and forth. And then the other ones are about this height and have like rocker bases on them. So, you know, your kids that want to tip back in their chair anyways, these are actually made to where they can tip back and forth. And, you know, some students want that motion while they're doing things. So the idea is that students can sit in different locations within each one of the rooms to whatever it is that best suits them and their learning style.
So should we have bought rugs?
I don't care where they lay.
I would be more comfortable laying on a rug.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right.
You're on yoga mat. With the sheriff services, was he upset with what his job description was, or what?
No, I just think that going to the training is that he realized that we needed to be more clear as to what the expectations were on his part as well as on the school's part. And I think this is just a tool that we can use to make sure that we're on the same page.
We actually had in our SRO file, an MOU, but it was EHOVI's and it had never been like adapted to us. But it had Benny written on it for back when Benny Pruitt was here. So I think the intention was to have one back then, but I don't know. I don't know what occurred from that, but I think it's pretty standard. A lot of schools just have them in place.
And the only thing we added in the records and release information, just clarifying that the officer is. What does it say?
There's some stipulations on his inability to both receive as well as release.
Right, yeah, it just
You're
specific.
talking the policy.
Yeah, the policy, it
Yes.
just makes.
It was geared more directly towards.
He is
this, or-
part of.
Mhm.
Townsend. He is-
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's all I read. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a couple of other items after this. However, these items are grouped together here, items A through F for approval.
All right, well, I entertain a motion to approve items A through F of the superintendent's report.
So
Moved by Kent, seconded by Dora. Have the roll, please.
Mr. Edwards,
yes,
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Paloma,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee. Yes. Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, and then item G, we discussed a little bit earlier, is the recommendation to accept the proposal from Dymex Services and to enter a contract allowing them to complete the shower construction project at Townsend.
Is there a motion to approve item G?
so moved,
Moved by Kent, second,
Second.
by Israel. We'll have the roll, please.
Mr. Edwards,
yes,
Mr. Paloma,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee. Yes. Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, and then item H is a recommendation to retain Amy Goodson, LLC, to represent the Townsend Board in its governance of an Ohio community school. Jean, do you have anything else to add to that?
I had sent to all of you the recommendation, the comments from the references. We did check 3 references that she gave us. She came highly recommended. Adam recommended her from Dickinson and Wright. I know Brian DeSantis has good experience with her as well. So I feel very confident that we're going to be in good hands. She'll be able to provide what we need, and when she's not able to provide what we need, she'll be outsourcing to other firms and lawyers. Her practice is much smaller than what Dickinson and Wright is. but we felt that that was a good fit for Townsend. Cost wise, it's very comparable. There isn't much of a change per hour. As far as cost goes. And what we had decided, she's at a national conference tonight and this week. She volunteered to attend by video. But I said, no, let's not mess with that. You're involved. So she will be coming to a meeting and meeting us in person. I assured Jackie that she offers continuing education, so maybe we can get a simpler way to do our sunshine law trade computer. Thank you. We'll look into that, Jackie. So I do highly recommend that we do move as Ryan has stipulated here. So I will entertain a motion to approve action item H. Moved by Jackie, is there a second? Was that Dora? Okay, Dora. Are there any questions about that? Okay,
Good.
Sounded good, looked good.
okay, good,
Talks to people, and I've heard good things about it, bad, so.
good. All right, well, the roll, please.
Mrs. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mr. Paloma,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. So protocol would call for me, I need some, I'd like to do it in, on school stationery, so I need some school stationery. To terminate our agreement with Dickinson and Wright as of tonight, I'll inform Adam. And he knew that this was happening, we've communicated a couple of times about this. But then we'll terminate our relationship with him. We have a contract from Amy's firm to begin that relationship as of the signing of the contract, so. Good.
We don't have to take action on that termination then. Do we?
No.
That is everything that I have in terms of superintendent's report.
Okay, very good. Is there anything else that we need to entertain? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Moved by Kent, second.
Second, I'm sorry.
All
You said
right,
second at the
Israel, I
same
was gonna
time.
be disappointed in that. All in favor? No opposition. Meeting is adjourned at 6:44, 43, whichever
I put 33.
tap you get. Very good. So.